Hey, welcome to the Explainer. You know that one drawer, right? The one that's just full of old phones, random chargers, and gadgets you totally forgot you even owned? We all love the thrill of getting something new. But have you ever really stopped and thought about where all the old stuff goes? Well, the answer leads us to this massive electronic graveyard. And today, we're going to dig right in. So picture a huge sales event, kind of like Black Friday. In Mexico, they have one called Buen Fin, and electronics just completely take over. We're talking nearly 8 out of every 10 things sold are some kind of gadget. It just goes to show you how much these devices are at the center of our world. And yeah, that incredible demand leads right to this massive question. The second you unbox that shiny new phone, what happens to the old one? Instantly, it's obsolete. It becomes what we call e-waste. But where does it actually physically go?
To really get a handle on this, we've got to zoom out, like way out. Because this isn't just about your drawer of old cables, it's about a literal mountain of electronics, and it is a truly global problem.
Okay, just look at this map. It really lays out the massive scale of what we're dealing with. Millions and millions of tons of e-waste every single year. You've got Europe generating over 12 million tons, Latin America over 4 million. And for this explainer, we're going to zero in on two really interesting examples. Germany cranking out 1.9 million tons and Mexico with 1 million tons. Two countries, but as you'll see, two very different stories. Now, when we zoom in on Mexico, you see this huge gap. The country produces almost 400,000 tons of e-waste a year, but its official regulated system, it can only handle about 70,000 tons. That leaves more than 300,000 tons unaccounted for every year. So, where is it all going? The answer is pretty unsettling. You know, a gap that big doesn't happen by accident. It all comes down to a fundamentally different way of thinking about the problem. So let's compare how Germany and Mexico handle this, because it reveals two completely separate philosophies. So on one side, you've got Germany's approach, extended producer responsibility. The idea here is actually pretty simple. The company that makes the product is on the hook for what happens to it when it dies. Basically, the polluter pays. Then, on the other side, there's Mexico's shared responsibility model. Here, the blame, or responsibility, is spread out between the makers, the government, and you, the consumer. And what that often means is that nobody feels like they're truly in charge. So, how does Germany actually put that philosophy into practice? Let's break down their blueprint. It's all built on creating a really clear path of responsibility. Let's just follow the chain here in Germany. It all starts at the top, with the companies that make and sell the electronics. The law gives them direct financial and administrative responsibility for the entire life cycle, from how the product is designed, to collecting it, all the way to recycling it. It's a closed loop where everybody knows exactly what their job is. And the whole thing is run by a central hub, this foundation called EAR. Honestly, you can think of it like an air traffic controller for e-waste. It registers the producers, it tracks what gets sold, and it connects the drop-off points with the manufacturers who have to pick it up. It's the critical piece that makes the whole system actually work. And a huge part of the German system is just simple, clear communication. Every single electronic device has to have this symbol on it, and the message couldn't be clearer. Do not throw this in your regular trash bin. It's a simple instruction that empowers millions of people to get the recycling process started on the right foot. Okay, so let's switch gears now. Let's compare that really clear blueprint with the much more complex reality on the ground in Mexico. Remember that huge e-waste gap we talked about a minute ago? Well, this is where it all ends up. Only about 10% of Mexico's e-waste gets formally recycled. A massive 40% is just sitting in people's homes, in those drawers we talked about. And the other 50%, half of everything, goes to landfills or just uncontrolled dumps, where all those toxic materials can just leak into the environment. And this diagram really shows us why. Unlike that clear, straight line in Germany, Mexico's shared responsibility model looks more like a tangled web. The responsibility is spread out, sure, but with no single person or company having a clear, legally binding duty. And when everyone is a little bit responsible, it usually means that no one is truly accountable. So what does this all look like for the actual people who have to handle this stuff? Let's get away from the diagrams for a second and look at the human side of the story. Mexican environmentalist Gerardo Canavati really nails a key part of the problem:
planned obsolescence. He says that products are literally, quote, designed to fail, to become obsolete. And why? To keep the industry running and to keep us buying the next new thing. This constant churn is the engine that's creating this mountain of waste.
All right, I want you to take a good look at this picture and just burn it into your brain. This is an official, organized, safe e-waste facility in Germany. This is the formal, regulated system. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's designed to protect workers and the environment.
Now, contrast that image with this description from Gerardo Canavati. This is the informal sector in Mexico. He says one person can take apart 50 computer monitors in a single day using just a screwdriver, scissors, and pliers. They call it artisanal, like a craft. But this is how most of Mexico's e-waste is actually handled, often with zero protective gear or safety measures.
And that informal, artisanal process is incredibly dangerous. I mean, look at this. This is just some of the toxic stuff hiding inside our gadgets. You've got lead, which can damage the nervous system. You've got mercury, which can cause permanent brain and kidney damage. Cadmium is linked to cancer. When these devices are just smashed apart by hand, these poisons pose a huge risk to the health of the workers and the environment around them. So, given these two totally different realities, where do we go from here? The challenges are obviously huge, but there are also some major opportunities for change.
This isn't an unsolvable problem. There's actually a roadmap for Mexico that plots out solutions based on the time and money they'd take. Down here in the bottom left, you've got the quick wins, the low-cost things like awareness campaigns. And then as you move up and to the right, you get to the bigger, more complex, long-term fixes, like fundamentally rewriting the law to establish that producer responsibility we saw in Germany.
So really, a path forward seems to boil down to 4 key things. First, integrate that informal sector to make it safer and more effective. Second, promote a culture of repair and reuse to just slow down the fire hose of new waste. Third, establish clear producer responsibility, learning from models like Germany's. And finally, you gotta improve data collection because you can't fix what you can't measure.
In the end, we are surrounded by unbelievably smart technology. I mean, we have phones that can connect to satellites in space and computers that can basically think. So the final question is this. Isn't it time our plans for what to do with them after we're done became just as smart? Thanks for watching The Explainer.